Nvidia comes clean on the oopsie doopsie that we talked about in yesterday's episode of Hot News. The new iPhone got announced or something like that, and Microsoft, they're killing Windows. Why would you remove this basic feature? Let's get into the hot news, everybody. I'm your host, Brett. We're going to be going over the hottest tech news that I can find on the internet while you enjoy your breakfast. Okay, let me know what you're having for your Jolly Jam, sticking in your mouth during this little meal that you have. Let's start off talking about Nvidia responding to the GeForce Now titles that we talked about in yesterday's episode of Hot News. If you couldn't catch that one, let me give you a quick refresh. Somebody was able to go through Nvidia's database, kind of scrapes together some data and find out that there are games that are being prepared for GeForce Now that Nvidia has never talked about, that either have never been announced for PC or have been announced, period. Things such as God of War being ready to launch in the GeForce Now browser, as well as games such as Kingdom Hearts 4, BioShock Remaster, Mirror's Edge RTX Remaster. A lot of things that could get a lot of people potentially hyped. So Nvidia wants to let you know that, hey, that's speculative, with their official report saying Nvidia is aware of an unauthorized published game list. Unauthorized, you just didn't encrypt your side to allow people to access it. It's not like they did anything inappropriate. With both released and or speculative titles used only for internal tracking and testing. Inclusion on the list is neither confirmation nor an announcement of any game. Nvidia took immediate action to remove access to the list. No confidential game builds or personal information were exposed, which this just sounds like boilerplate legal jargon of like, hey, listen, we didn't announce anything, so we can't be sued by Sony for announcing that God of War is coming out for PC, all right? Well, that's not on us. Or the fact that we know all of these other games are in development that we're not going to talk about, especially things such as Mirror's Edge RTX Remaster or Batman Arkham Knight RTX Remaster, because Nvidia started like a whole new spin-off division in order to do this, adding ray tracing to different games for RTX Remaster projects on the Nvidia Studios team. So this is something that they've already been working towards, and seeing this pop on a list honestly isn't all that surprising. So I want to hear from you. Do you believe that this is actually legitimate, that Nvidia was just making up things and something as fully fleshed out as that God of War landing page is just there for testing? Or do you think they're just trying to back off to make sure that they don't get the pantsuit off of them? Let me know what you think of this down below in the comments. I found this appropriate comment over on WCCF Tech saying Nvidia trying to recover from this is like someone who farted in public and then starts making fart sounds with his mouth to convince everyone he didn't actually fart. That's how it feels to me, that this is actually the reveal of a lot of games that could potentially be coming down the pipeline. I do believe that some of them are speculative, like some of them on there, like Kingdom Hearts 4, that's out to breakfast, all right? But other ones like the RTX Remaster or other PlayStation games coming to PC, I absolutely believe Nvidia has the in on it. And I still stick by my conspiracy theory from yesterday that PlayStation Now and GeForce Now are going to do the fusion dance, and we're going to get PlayStation on PC powered by GeForce Now, and Sony still gets 100% of the game cut because you buy it on the PlayStation Store, but Nvidia is providing the hardware for streaming it all over the globe. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. I want to hear from you down below in the comments, and I want you to hear from past Brett about today's episode sponsor.
Today's episode of Hot News is brought to you by Blinkist. My friends, I don't know about you, but I have a busy life, and it happens that I don't have time to read a book all of the time. But thankfully, I've been recently using Blinkist, so instead of having to find the time to read a whole book, I can just listen to all its highlights in only 15 minutes. Blinkist allows you to save time, money, and learn new things faster than ever. You can use it for your self-improvement, development, parenting, marriage, and many other areas. Blinkist has the best insights from over 3,000 nonfiction books, and it condenses them into just 15 minutes. You can read or listen to them podcast style, and they have over 14 million active users. And you get access to all of the titles while offline, and now they have full-length audiobooks. If you want to dive deeper, premium subscribers get special member pricing, up to 65% off of the regular retail price. And one of the beautiful things about Blinkist is not just using it to read new books, but I've also used it to help quickly refresh myself on books that I've read previously. I don't need to dive back into the full book. I can just use Blinkist to catch up on the highlights and stir up my memory to make sure that I'm good to go. Power of Habits by Charles Duhigg and Atomic Habits by James Clear are especially important to me right now as I'm trying to reform some habits that I've developed that I probably shouldn't have along the last 2 years. And those two books have been monumental in me changing my workflow, changing my life, for me to be a better father, a better business owner, a better boss, a better husband. I absolutely love those books, and you should check them out on Blinkist. And the first 100 people to go to Blinkist.com/hot news are going to get unlimited access for 1 week to try it out. out. And my friends, the 7-day trial is completely free. You can cancel at any time during that period. You'll also get 25% off if you want a full membership. Big thanks again to Blinkist for sponsoring today's episode of Hot News.
And now I want you to hear about the Steam Deck because it hit a decent milestone, Valve announcing that they are now shipping out dev kits to developers, which is something that happens with pre-release hardware, especially in the game industry, with consoles going out to game developers well beforehand, and Valve posting these pictures of both the Steam Deck case as well as the boxes that they're shipping out. And Steam Deck actually hitting an important milestone. It's a good thing that they're doing this, and then obviously the release is supposed to be coming out towards the end of this year. It looks like they're actually on pace to bring this out on time. I like it. And if you're a gamer, you should be really excited. All right, we've got PlayStation Now coming to GeForce Now. Not officially, just my speculation. You got things such as the Steam Deck that allow you to play Steam games in the palm of your hand. And now, if you use the Xbox app on Windows, you can now stream Xbox Series S and X games to your PC through that, either via remote play or through Xbox's xCloud. And while this isn't necessarily a new feature, since you've been able to do this for Xbox One games, this is the first time you can do it for optimized Xbox Series games. So in case you want to play at that higher refresh rate, that's kind of what's going on here, or with that ray tracing goodness that all the new kids are talking about with your two-fangled up, down, good, right, bouncing light rays. And I hear all the newfangled kids are talking about Cryptostonks. So let's get into the update for today. Bitcoin climbing up 4.5% on the day to be at $47,000. Just having a slowly increasing hiking day. It's like it climbed a little mountain. Now it just needs to rest for some water. Ethereum also up nearly 4% on the day to be at 34.18. Dogecoin also up 1.4%. Looks like they all hiked the mountain together. Meme stonks. GameStop slightly down 2% to close at just under $200, $199.24. And then AMC down. No, 8.5%. That's a rough fall from the high that it was yesterday, but we'll see if it recovers. AMC closing the day at $47.30. And will Epic Games ever recover from the amount of money they had to pay Apple? $6 million! Oh, Tim Sweeney saying that because of the violation of contract with Apple and how much they made on the day that they violated the contract with Apple, the court ordered them to pay up. And Tim Sweeney saying that they have paid that $6 million that they were ordered to do, which helped to pay for probably a little bit of the cinematography at the Apple event yesterday, where we got an announcement of a whole host of new products. Obviously, a lot of people out on the internet kind of bummed about the new iPhone, but it's really not anything different than what they've been doing. They kind of have a TikTok release schedule, right? You get the regular like refresh, then you get the S version. The iPhone 13 is kind of suited in that S tier spot where it's the 12S essentially. So it's minor upgrades, nothing really distinctive about the actual phone, just kind of quality of life improvements here and there. The iPhone 13 and 13 mini getting announced with a better camera array and a smaller notch. Gonna start at $829 for the iPhone 13, $729 for the iPhone 13 mini, starting at 128 gigabytes configuration. It's going to release this coming Friday with the new A15 Bionic chip, which is based on a 5nm chip, 6-core CPU, as well as a blazing faster GPU, with Apple saying that it's 50% faster than competition CPU and 30% faster than competition in GPU. You see all the beautiful graphics that Apple releases on their stuff right here. One of the neatest things that they did announce is cinematic mode, which allows you to actually rack focus on the videos that you shoot on iPhone so that you can actually have smooth focus pulls between two different subjects as you're filming videos, which is just good stuff. Like, that's actually legitimately helpful, and I'd like to see this rolled out on plenty of other devices as well. iPhone 13 Pro and Pro Max also getting announced with up to 1 terabyte in storage, the first time this is ever going to be available on an iPhone, starting at 128 gigs again. And the Pro lineup is also going to have a 120 hertz LTPO display, which means that it's not only going to go up to 120 hertz, but it can also sit down as low as 10 hertz, especially if you're just reading text on a screen. Number one, to help preserve battery life, but then also number two, to make sure that you have super smooth responsivity. Here are the 4 colors that you could potentially get in it. It's going to have the same A15 Bionic. It's going to have the Super Retina XDR display. It's going to have up to 6x optical zoom from the wide angle lens all the way up to the telephoto lens. And now the iPhone 13 and 13 Pro are both going to feature dual eSIM support for the first time ever. You could still have one physical SIM and one eSIM, or you can choose to go with both dual eSIMs on the phones. On top of that, they also announced a brand new new iPad with the A13 Bionic, which is going to be slightly faster. They didn't raise the price on this, still starting at $329, which honestly is a fabulous deal on what is a solid tablet. Also getting an iPad mini refresh with 5G, USB-C, larger 8.3-inch display, and rounded edges, as you can see here. It's going to start at $499. And then something that was leaked to high heaven, the Apple Watch Series 7, which was supposed to have squared off edges, actually came out looking the same. It has rounded edges. A lot of leakers are actually really confused about this because a lot of different sources corroborated the same thing, that it was going to be squared off, and then it turns out that it's just a larger version of the previous generation, and now they're trying to figure out how did we ever get it so wrong. But there are a few key upgrades that are kind of cool. Number one, again, the screen is bigger and it also has some like wraparound text effect. It also has a dust resistance, now IP6X, and then it starts at the exact same price as the previous one. So just a refresh. However, there was no release date associated with the Apple Watch because, according to all of the behind the scenes report, there are some supply chain issues that are making it difficult to get this watch out there, and they're just saying it's coming later, which is indicative of actual supply chain issues when they have no idea when they're going to be able to mass produce it. But while the iPhone 13 might have the fastest GPU in a consumer smartphone right now, guess what? Samsung and AMD are breathing hot and heavy down their heels, all right? That's where you breathe. No, you shouldn't be near people's feet while you're breathing. What is that analogy, Brett? Samsung Exynos 2200 SoC with the AMD Voyager RDNA 2 GPU getting benchmarked. Not a whole lot to really comment as far as the speed there. Just know that it's coming soon. The next generation Galaxy phones hopefully will feature RDNA 2 and make it so that we can finally get a new king in the mobile ecosystem. And what Intel is hoping will be the new king in the desktop ecosystem, Alder Lake CPUs. Retailers are now reporting pricing on these chips, with the 12900K coming in at $605 USD, which honestly is not too bad considering the fact that it can go toe-to-toe with the 5950X, which sells for around $750. The KF CPU selling for $580, which again would be about the same in CPU performance but lacking that iGPU. These are actually looking to be pretty good against AMD's current lineup. If AMD drops anything with 3D V-Cache, that conversation might change, or AMD could potentially drop their prices. But given the benchmarks that we've seen pre-release, obviously take this with a grain of salt, this pricing actually not looking too terrible from Intel, especially if there's a decent amount of stock. But there's not a lot of stock in faith and hope that Microsoft knows what the heck they're doing with Windows 11, and this report from The Verge, which I know, tech people, calm down, it's a Verge report, but this one's really important, by Tom Warren, talking about features missing in Windows 11 that will, number one, absolutely get me not to upgrade, and I think you should know about, which is the fact that the taskbar is kind of anus. You can't group together icons, you can't have things like your time on multiple monitors, and the worst offender is that you cannot drag files onto the taskbar to bring them into apps. I use this every single day. As you can see here, he's trying to bring a photo into Photoshop by dragging and dropping it onto the taskbar, and it doesn't do diddly squat. They do not allow you to use that. That is just a complete removal of functionality that I use on a daily basis and would make my actual job much more difficult. I cannot tell you probably how many hours this feature has saved versus having to go into a file system and then like click attach file and then navigating it that way. This is so much easier. Why would Microsoft remove this? They're assuring Tom Warren that they are indeed taking in customer feedback or user feedback about what they should implement, but it's not there. His speculation is because they originally designed Windows 10X to be on multiple devices, especially dual screen stuff, they didn't have it all completely worked out, and as they rewrote it for Windows 11, it's just missing basic functionality that every Windows operating system should have, or every operating system should have. I will not switch until this feature is brought in. It's as simple as that. I don't care if it gives me 40% more FPS. I'm not a gamer primarily, first and foremost. I'm actually a content creator, so that's more important to me than my video games. This may not upset you as much, but it does. It just makes it unreasonable for me. And it was unreasonable that y'all couldn't upgrade your PS5s to have extra SSDs, but as of today, Sony has released the firmware out to y'all plebs who couldn't get into the beta program, and now you can actually upgrade the M.2 storage on your PS5 if you upgrade to the latest system firmware, which is great. We're gonna have a video out on UFD Tech later today today where I actually test this to the limits. I've got adapters on adapters on adapters trying to see how far I can push Sony's PS5 internal SSD system. I tested this out a little bit on the Series X, got locked out of the entire system because Microsoft, again, kind of anus when it comes to just kind of allowing people to do what they want. Sony a little bit better here. Get ready for that UFD Tech video. Go subscribe over there if you want to. And also go watch yesterday's episode of Hot News where we did indeed go into more depth about Nvidia's oopsie doopsie and how GeForce Now is might be gambling with the future of video games. Thank you so much for spending your breakfast with me. I'll see you tomorrow for another jolly good cup of joe.